to give it a shot, you have a spot for yourself here.
Well,
I'm
I really
happy to
appreciate
host you.
it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Oh, I think stream is live.
Yep, it's pushing back right now.
Cool.
Let me double checking Twitch. All right, welcome back, everyone. Looks like Restream had an issue, so that's lovely. Just love being in tech. Anyways, Nizzy and I were talking about projects and resumes, and it's how I was kind of saying it's like you really can't put a project on a resume where you can like work experience, because I mean, what am I going to put down that I made a website that gets like 30,000 monthly active users and I use Next.js? It feels a little bit underwhelming than like an actual like job, but yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have to find ways to stand out. Like if if everyone's like applied to Indeed and LinkedIn, and you just notice there's like 1,000 people, 2,000 people applying to the same jobs. Like I was talking to someone the other day. He's like a recruiter at a company, and he he told me if I made like a job posting on Indeed, I would get like 700 in a week, 800 in a week. Good luck standing out. Good luck. Even though you might be like a really great engineer, you won't be able to like, you know, show your true worth because everyone else is kind of doing the same thing. So you have to find like creative ways to like, show your worth.
For sure. I myself am continuously hiring over the past year and a half, and whenever I would put up a job listing, I would get like 1,000 applicants within a couple of days.
Yeah.
It's exactly as you said. But I would have the highest hiring success when I hire out of my network, people that I know or people that I get recommendations for. Uh, so
That's really true. And you know what? Like something like Twitter really helps because you can meet people and you can meet recruiters, and it's like a really wonderful tool to like put yourself out there so that recruiters can come to you. Like one thing I noticed was when I started posting on Twitter, people were offering me jobs. Like they're offering me jobs now. I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's new compared to me before. I was just like applying to a bunch of jobs or applying to a few jobs and like, please, yeah, please.
Bro, please. I swear I can type on a
Exactly.
keyboard. I
Exactly.
swear.
Exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool, and I think that's the best way to have a sort of a job market be, because if you're going to and every single like job and like begging them, be like, bro, please, I sent you an application, can you please open it? It just, it already puts you on like a lower pedestal, because it's like you seem desperate for it, and you're not
Mhm.
really desperate. You just want them to notice you, because every single job application is going to get 1,000 AI application. It's going to get 1,000 sort of not foreign, but not like locally relevant, at least for jobs in like my area. It's like people who are applying that are gonna be like, hey, can I do this remote, when it's obviously like an in-person type job, and not a lot of other slop resumes and job postings. And it's, I like the way where it's like if you post good stuff and you make good content and you make good projects, people DM you, ask you for a job. People will DM you, ask you to support a cryptocurrency. I mean, not on that last one. Those are
They might.
that is
They might.
it's
Like
happened
an
to
investment
me.
opportunity. No, yeah, but I've gotten that as well. I've gotten that as well.
What do you mean
People
by
asking me to
investment opportunity?
like a crypto, like, hey, can you do this crypto thing? I haven't done
Hey,
anything.
FBI, get
No,
on this
there,
man right here.
there,
That's a bit
there,
sus.
there have been mail zero crypto coins, and that's a scam. I just want to
oh
put that out
wow,
there.
Yeah, make a
So
make a public PSA for everyone.
I did. I did. Like I was shocked. Yeah, but on what you were saying, like there is some degree of luck when it comes to applying, but it just surprises me when devs who are seen as like smart are just they can't see that what they're doing will yield them the least likelihood of a result. Like if again 1,000 people applying to the same jobs, you're just not gonna get the job most of the time. It's just never gonna happen. So you gotta find ways. You gotta find ways to stand out.
yeah. Job hunting is a skill of itself,
Yeah,
and there are
sure.
definitely gotchas to that process. I know there have been a bunch of people abusing the AI screening tools, where they would put together troll resumes and they would come out on top, shortlisted by employers because they used a bunch of keywords that the algorithms look for. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the whole AI thing in hiring. It dehumanizes the whole thing, and you got to talk to humans. There's some things that I just shouldn't replace, and like, when you're talking to a human, they can really understand you. You said you're a recruiter, right, Dan?
I'm a manager. I hire a bunch.
Manager, but you
Yeah.
hire, you're right. Yeah, so like when you actually talk to a human being, regardless of what the resume says, like you can really understand someone and their fit in the company. It's not all about just a resume. Like if I'm being honest, when I got hired at Cal, I was really underqualified, like super underqualified. Whatever under junior was, that's what I was. Okay, so like that's probably what a vibe engineer is, right? So when I talked to them, I think I was just able to like they just I guess saw something in my vision or some things that I was working on, and then I just started working, and month after month I improved, and I'm at the point now where I'm like quite comfortable at the job. They trust me with a bunch of projects, and yeah,
I think that's how you have to do it though, because you're not going to get experience otherwise. How
yeah,
are you gonna? You need to let that underprivileged dev come on with some training wheels and some restrictions, of course. But then, how else are they gonna learn? Because you see all these jobs. Like I literally saw a post. I know it was ironic, but it's like requires like 4 years experience of vibe coding. Like yeah, it's
yeah.
funny, but like a new JS framework will drop
hmm
and
hmm
job postings will go up and be like,
Right,
yeah, you need 19 years experience with this. You need to have known the creator and like married him to get on this job. And it's like it's not plausible. Why do you
right,
need 19 years experience in some stuff like
correct.
that? It makes no sense.
I think a more valuable skill to have, or more valuable thing to have, is like less so experience, but more so just the willingness to learn. Like that is the single most important thing you can have. Like if you're able to just force yourself to sit down for a few hours a day and just try to learn and try to do something, you'll be fine. Like I can't explain how many times I've like been completely lost at like a specific task I was working on at Cal, about to honestly cry because of how difficult it might have been. I'm like, I'm gonna get fired because of this. And then 3 or 4 hours go by and I'm like, oh, that's what it was. And then I submit the PR and it's on the app or site. So if you can learn and you're willing to just try shit out, then you're good.
Yeah. I it's that trial and error thing where you
Yeah.
just gotta keep trying and you gotta wait until a company gives you a chance, because that's really I think that's really like the biggest thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just you gotta get that opportunity.
That first job is the hardest. It requires a lot of luck. You need to be in the right place at the right time for that job. But once you get that first job, it's way easier to get the other ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, you you obviously got the job at Cal. You're doing pretty decent, I'd say. Um, what have you been that you can share about? Obviously, uh, what have you been working on with that, and what's the inside scoop?
So at Cal, I my job title is like it's a marketing engineer. So I do both like their Twitter content and explaining things, like helping out with docs, and as well as building internal tools, website, basically just everything. That's basically what my job is. Like I just try out different things and help out where they need me. So and you guys know, like a startup is really like unorganized when it comes to job roles. Like a senior dev that's probably just should be working on like one part of the company will be working on with me on like some other part of the company, just because we're a small company and they just need that. So yeah, that's basically my job role. So whatever you see on like the website is probably done by me. um we revamped the website. Stuff on the app is less so done by me. There's some things, but Twitter content I've worked on. Internal tools, like we're building like some CRMs and sales processes that will help with like conversions. That stuff, that's the things I'm doing.
Right on. Um, what would you say is the hardest part of your job?
The hardest part of my job, definitely working with the founders. Like again, we're like 30 employees, but we're like 15 engineers. So you're directly working with the founders. I'm talking to them every day. Like I'm literally, so if you guys know like Pierre and Bailey, you guys should definitely have them on here. It's pretty intense. And if you've ever been around a founder, there's a specifically personality type that they have. And it can be pretty difficult at times, but you learn a lot. Like some of the things, like at the moment they're like, hey, you have to do this task. And then you're like, how am I supposed to do this? Like how? But then you said with the problem, you work on it, and then you did it, and you just learn how to do some entirely new language or new framework or new like tool that you've been trying out, and it all came because the founder kind of believed that you could do it, and they forced it upon you. It's like that force. But yeah, that's definitely the hardest part. It's like being in that environment of like, hey, you have to do this in like less than a few hours or in less than a week because we need you to do it.
Yeah, but I think that's a great. Now, obviously, if it's like overworked and like abusive, that's bad. But like in like the right way, which it sounds like it sounds like that is the best way to do it because they're pushing your limits not to overwork you, but because they know that you can do it and they know based off of your past work that you can do it and you'll get it done just because you're inherently smart and everything. And it's that collaborative support which I think is really really valuable. And also touching on the other thing, I did reach out to Pierre, um and we might have him on for a future show, but if you want to bump that for us,
Definitely, you guys would
not
love them.
I'm not
Both the
gonna I'm not
founders are
gonna say
super
no.
cool. They're super cool. But yeah, like you said, like it's just having someone also believe in you, like saying, "Hey, I'm giving you this task because I believe you can do it." It means a lot. Like when I talk to like other junior devs at other companies, where the company size is like, let's just say 1,000 or 2,000 employees, the tasks that they're getting are like, I'll be honest, probably like a joke. Like it's just like it's really small things like refactoring some small part of the app or working on like a button on their authentication page or some stupid stuff like that. And it's just cool to have these people that I hold in high regard who are obviously successful and running a really successful company to say, "Hey, I believe in you. Work on this big project, and we'll get it done."
Absolutely. That's the beautiful
Yeah.
thing of working at a
Mhm.
startup
Yeah.
or a smaller scale company, that you
Yeah.
get to work on these huge projects, huge problems, solve things that other developers with established businesses wouldn't ever dream of working on.
Mhm.
And you also get to wear a lot of hats, right?
Yep.
If you're a smaller scale company, that means you're not just a developer, you're also, project manager in a way,
Yep.
or a designer in a way. You have to make decisions ad hoc that, you know, developers don't usually face at a average size company.
Definitely. Definitely. Like even when we were working on the website, um, we had like the project manager give us some Figma files, but for a lot of the site, it was mostly just me and another developer kind of just winging it and trying different things out and finding different ways to like build it out. And the site's like I'll tell you the numbers. We're getting like almost a million page views a month, so it's no joke, right? Like this is like serious numbers, and things can really go wrong. And like a mistake on some part of that site will lead to like a big portion of like our users going down for the month. So just the fact that we have a lot of impact on the project and on the company is really cool.
Yeah, well, I believe that because I mean, I don't. I think Guillermo and then like Pierre reposted it or something, but every Y Combinator startup, like when you see their contact page, what is it? It's a cow link. It
Mhm.
every single one of them. So I don't doubt those numbers at all because
Mm.
I have looked at like every single startup and I'm like, okay, let me see if I can find like a Calendarly or like just a Google Meet type link. Nothing. It's all
Mhm.
cal.com links. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that just shows how well a product is made and how well it's maintained, that it kind of gives that inherent credibility. It's like it's not
Mhm.
an option of what you use. It's, oh, just use Cal for the scheduling and meetings and stuff like that. It's not an option.
Definitely. And like if you talk to the founders, they literally live and breathe scheduling. Like they really care about the product and it shows. The same with Guillermo, like you could tell he cares about Vercel and he literally wants to make this as successful as possible and he'll literally die trying. Like there's just something about like a founder caring that much that will lead to the success of a company.
Absolutely. If you
Mhm.
want to be successful at building products, build them for yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Theo said it a while ago really, really well. Um, he said, if you don't care, yeah, I'm trying to find the tweet, but he's like, if you don't care about your product or your solution that you're building, don't build it because you're not going to put in the valid effort and the valid need that you need to do for it to make it work. And that's why all of these founders, when they start, the main deciding factor is whether or not they put enough work in and then if they actually care about it. Because if you don't care about a product, you're not going to put your full effort into it. So, yeah.
Yeah, you want to be able to like care about the problem that you're solving. Like a business at the end of the day is you're just solving a problem, right? So you have to care about it. You have to have some sort of like hatred in a way towards the current status quo, and then want to build it and spend a lot of time and money and effort on it. So yeah, Theo's definitely right when it comes to that. Like you just have to care. When he's building T3, people might not like the product, but he obviously cares about it, and you have to appreciate that. I personally like the product, but like you can tell he cares about it. You know, he's always talking about it. He's coding in his. I saw he's like in a taxi just writing code. Like he
His
cares about
newest
it.
post was,
Yeah,
and it was he was in a barber chair,
yeah,
doing it, which was is hilarious.
yeah. So he
But
cares about it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Speaking about stuff that you care about, you really hate Gmail, don't you?
yeah. I honestly do. I hate emails in general. Like it's just something that's I feel like has been neglected. Like if you look back 10 years ago, messaging has changed, right? But emails has been probably the exact same since what, early 2000s?
Even earlier than that,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
because I had to take for my Network Plus, we had to like do a deep dive into like the history of emails and networking. Emails, like the fundamental knowledge of emails has been the same. You have an inbox. Inside that inbox, you can receive messages. You reply to messages. Yeah, it's been pretty much the same for a long time.
Right. Yeah, so that's why I wanted to build something. I mean, the idea honestly came from Guillermo. I don't know if you guys saw one of his posts, but he brought up the idea like, why has email stayed the same? Or he said something along those lines about emails being like the same, and I'm like, you know what? That's so true. That's so true. So I started building and building it public, and then people just started, following along, and it led to like an actual like thing that I wanted to build. But yeah, I mean, we were previously mail zero, but we bought the domain zero.email, and we just want to improve emails. I think that's something we want to do, and whether that is an AI or not, or changing, like we just want to like build something that's cool and open source.
Right. With the zero dot email, how much was that? Because I gotta, if you can disclose, because a single digit specialty TLD, I'm thinking three figures at least.
I'll tell you guys in private, but I won't say it on
Okay,
here.
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then, but no, I totally get it because I personally, right now, maybe not for long after zero email comes out and fully releases, I use Superhuman. And the nice part I like about Superhuman is when, let me see if I can pull up an example here. When I go and I'm having, like, I'll pull up, that's not a good example. When I pull up, like, a conversation or something like that, it acts like text messages. And I often find myself talking like I'm in text messages just because it's easier to understand as a concept because
Mhm.
having to pass back like a signature object and then like you're seeing that and it keeps building up and everything, it
Mhm.
looks messy, it's
Mhm.
ugly. And then having just all of your emails in the same inbox where it's all piled up, it just doesn't look good.
Mhm.
And no client that's like simple is open source, so there's no, and none of them are built on like Next. So there's no way that you could like open up Cursor and be like, "Yo, can you build this plugin for me?" And just stand there and just be like, "I need it to be 3 pixels in dimensions. Use this for the border color." Just vibe straight into it. But I think that even if the product itself, which I'm not saying it is, but even if the product itself doesn't become a world class hit, it will enable a world class hit just because of the functionality of it and the way to grow because it's open source. I think it's
Mhm.
that's why I love it so much, because there's no developer team that's like, all right, we're gonna release this great thing, arc, um, release this great thing and then deprecate it about a year later. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm really excited for the journey.
Yeah, and whether it becomes a a used product or it's just another open source thing that people just clone, I don't really care. It's just something I like building and developer focused. Like I've just been so focused on like, okay, how can we build like a really cool product and improve on what the current status quo of emails are? And I think focusing from that lens instead of worrying about like profits right away or investments right away is just it's not the right approach. It's not the right approach. Like building something good and then worrying about those things is what I'm trying to do.
You don't need to monetize your favicon creator. There's no need there's no need to
No,
monetize that.
no.
But what if some of your more recent challenges with that been like for Mailo or emailo?
It's actually more so on like the competition side. Like I've had multiple companies reach out and say, "Hey, we want." Let's just say they're asking about the product, and then right after they'll say, "Hey, we're going to build our own email client." Like they're interested in using us, and then they want to build their own. So, and there's also been people that have been like kind of not threatening, I wouldn't say that, but there's just people that wanna build the same thing as us, and they're I don't know what it is, but they're probably just jealous of what we have, and they wanna, like, try getting the same traction, but it's definitely that. Also, another thing is since we're open source, a lot of people, I don't know how to say it, like, we don't have any money, right? There's no money involved here, so everything is coming from my own pocket, so the okay, as nice I'm gonna keep it as nice as possible, the PRs can be quite bad, and finding the balance between accepting and rejecting has been hard because again I'm not a high ranking developer, so I'm reviewing code and I have to find a way to just know when this PR is going to help the product or not.
Yeah, I'm looking through some of these PRs and an impressive 277 PRs closed, by the way. That's great because how long has this project been going?
Less than a month.
That is phenomenal. 277 closed is crazy. But yeah, some of these it's like, do we really need that? Do we
And
really need
I'm
that?
gonna I'm grateful for every PR. I don't want people who want to contribute not to, but I don't want the product to just be. And this is for anyone that's like probably wants to get into open source and want to make like an open source business. It's like you have to kind of operate like you are a private business. You can't just accept everything because then you'll lead to a product that feels open source, which we don't want. We want it to feel like a private company, but it being open source, like Cal.
Right. I don't see contributing guidelines per se. Do you have such a document?
We just have a README.
Oh, okay.
We probably need to make one.
Yeah, what would help is like establishing the rules for a submission
Definitely.
of a PR, right?
Yeah.
This would make sure that people do their due diligence before submitting.
Do we not? I thought we do.
Oh, we do?
Could I think we just migrated to a mono repo, so I think we might have left that behind, but let me double check.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, if it's not there, I'll make sure to add it back.
Rules. Don't be dumb.
Oh, there's nothing in the code of conduct. Okay, yeah, we definitely have to fix that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the only rule. Don't be dumb.
All right. Awesome. Great rule.
That's cool. So with Cal, you I mean, I don't know if it's that well known, but Cal, correct me if I'm wrong, they're completely open source, right?
100%. They like 100% open source is like kind of the thing that we're going for, and it's just something we try to stand by. And if you talk to the founders, they're a big fan of open source. They love um the advantage that we have from being open source. And one of the best things about OS, in my opinion, is the fact that you have such a cool community and you build this like sort of I don't know the right thing. Like Calendly, right? it's sort of like closest competitor, but they don't have the same sort of like community and sort of like a family oriented like group behind the product. Because with Cal, you can literally just see all the code and you can see what we're doing. You can edit it how you want. You can self host. Like there's just so many avenues you can use the product that you build this like bond with your customers that you just can't with like a private business.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cal.com repo right now. About 1,000 issues, 6,500 issues closed. That's amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of love, a lot of love I can see.
And one thing that a lot of the engineers in the team care about is the fact that we're, looking at PRs, we're closing PRs, we're merging things, we're making sure that there's not many like errors involved in those PRs. Like we really care about both the contributors as well as the end product, like big time.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Have you found that working in a company, like a not a private company, but like a private company that operates as open source, with all of those issues, because anyone can submit an issue or a PR, right? Have you
Yep.
found that like more helpful or more like in the way, like you got some random indie hacker that kind of wants to do his own thing and he keeps on spamming PRs?
You don't necessarily have to listen to them. Like the issues are there and people will listen to them, but you don't you kind of have to push your human instinct aside and like just not forget about the issue. But if it doesn't align with what the business and our vision is, then you could just leave it. That's really it. And you're more than welcome to like clone the repository and build your own thing. Like you can always do that. But we have like bounties. There's a bunch of things like we have that could like push towards what we want. But again, like you said, like there's like private side of Cal and then there's the public side, which is the open source side. And since we are a business, you kind of have to we have a certain vision with the product and we kind of have to push one way so we can't like focus on some of the issues that people have.
Right. And yeah, the bounties, I was looking at that today because let me, where was that? Jobs. There it is. So yeah, so there's currently no open positions, which means
Mm.
your job is secure. Congrats. But then there it looks like there's issues with bounties that have like I see a $500 one here, a $100 one.
Mm.
Have you found those like really helpful? Like, do people do a lot of those?
Yeah. There's some of them where people like just want to do and they're really interested in the problem. And honestly, bounties are just an awesome way to get the community involved. Um, Especially now, like I plan on doing the same thing where I obviously can't hire employees, but for zero email, but bounties are like a great way for both the contributors as well as us to have like a synergistic way of like getting a feature done or part of the app done.
That's awesome.
Have you done any bounties?
Personally, no.
Because I was like, you could double your money right there. You like knocking out these bounties on a GitHub
Yeah.
alt.
Yeah.
I don't know how I know the code base so well. It just comes naturally to me. All jokes, all jokes. But yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I like that idea of being open so that way, I mean, from a security standpoint, everything's open to audit, everything's open to that, which kind of gives an additional peace of mind. But then the can you is it relatively easy to local host or like host locally?
It's it is, but if you're like a brand new developer, it can be a bit scary, just because you don't. It's a large code base, so
Right.
it might be a bit hard for you. But like once you get the hang of things and you set up your env vars, you're fine.
Cool.
Isn't it as easy as just pulling a Docker image?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could relatively do that. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. I am quite curious about the engineering culture at cal.com. If you don't mind sharing, what kind of process do you guys run? Do you do like agile with sprints every other week, or
Yeah,
how does it work?
it's a lot of sprints, and since we're a smaller company, it can be quite difficult, and we are dealing with like a lot of like we're B2B, right? For a lot of our biggest customers, it's like we're directly in contact with companies, so we have to manage both the in the the contact with these companies and the issues that they're having, as well as the sprints that we're doing at the company. But yeah, it's just like any other company when it comes to like engineering. But I'll say a lot of the like the culture around Cal is just to ship. That's all we try to focus on, and we try to reduce the errors as much as possible. Obviously, we test, and unfortunately, we do test, which goes against our vibe engineering standards. No, but it's really important to do, and it's just a balance of like, okay, can we have to test, but we also want to ship. So where's that like balance, right? And it can be hard sometimes, but yeah, like you guys see the amount of commits and PRs that are on the repo. It's crazy.
Yeah. And how do you handle reviewing of submissions by open source contributors? Do you like get together on this daily basis and like, okay, this PR looks promising. Why don't you take a look, Nizzy?
Okay, so I don't. Again, I'm more so on like the site. I'm less so on the app.
Mm.
So
Okay.
maybe when you guys talk to like Pierre or Bailey, they might be able to better answer that. Um, but when it comes to like just reviewing like my PRs, there's like a pretty strict process of like you have to go through a bunch of these like tests. You have to write your tests if it's like something that could impact the app big time. Um, and yeah, again, it's just like people think just because we're open source means that we're gonna, how do I say this? We're gonna like write shitty code and we're just gonna push for the sake of pushing. But there's actually quite a strict process because um, our code actually impacts a lot of businesses. And one thing you guys talked about earlier was everyone's using Cal, right? So some mistake can actually hurt someone's business. Like we have one of our customers, they have like it's a $1 billion company, and I don't know if I could say I don't know if I could talk about it or not, but um, a lot of their operations and their sales operations is on Cal, right? So if something goes wrong, then if even like a few hours of business goes down for them, that's like a lot of money. So we have to really make sure that we're following the right processes, we're testing our code and making sure like the code that we're writing is good.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of stress because,
Yeah.
like you're saying, like the 1 million monthly active users is insane, and a $1 billion company, I'm sure multiple $1 million companies, startups and stuff like that. So that's a lot of pressure. But yeah, that's super cool, and we'll definitely have to ask Pierre and others about that later. But Goose, did you have any other questions about Cal?
No, I'm just curious to learn about Nizzy's setup. How do you code, Nizzy? What's your setup?
I just have a laptop. It's just like an M4 MacBook Pro. That's it.
No multiple monitors?
Nah.
Bro, how do you even call yourself a developer?
I don't want to complicate. I had this like 49-inch monitor before,
Nice.
but I got rid of that. It
Oh,
was too much for me. I went back to a standard laptop. That's all I need.
how big is your laptop? 16-inch?
14.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dang. So you're a real vibe coder. You
Yep.
open company prod, open cursor agent, just say,
No
build me this
branches.
new feature. Just let me push domain.
Exactly. Exactly.
Speaking of branches, you guys have 1,100 branches.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Again, a lot of people they make their own branches, right? So not everything we look at needs to be pushed. So
Like, wow, that's 1,100 branches. Good lord.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
But anyways, going back to the hiring point, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's been the Twitter user who created um that I guess extension or application that basically lets you like bypass leak code with like the AI, but it's completely undetectable to the things. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have
What are your thoughts on that?
laziness. It's complete laziness. Like those types of devs will just never make it. If I'm being honest, like you're trying to like bypass. Okay, I understand if you want to like give yourself a good chance at getting a job, but you're kind of cutting yourself short when you're not doing the right things to get a job. Because what will happen is, let's say you get the job cheating. When they ask you to do something, what happens then? Right? Like you're gonna write some shitty code with cursor, and they're gonna know. They're just gonna know. So you're cutting yourself short both as an engineer and as a human being. At least that's my
Yeah,
opinion. Yeah.
and if you are getting caught cheating, um, your reputation is ruined. Like
Mhm, mhm.
people can put a word out about you. That's the thing, and trust is something that is easily lost and very hard to gain.
Yeah, your reputation can go. It can like make or break your career. So you definitely don't want to impact that.
Yeah. And I have to say, I have seen so many people cheating in my interviews. Oh my god! Over the past year, at least 100 of interviewees were cheating.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
I'm not even kidding. Like it is ridiculous. I can see them look at their second monitor and they're prompting their ChatGPT with questions, and I start answering more ridiculous questions. They're like, "Oh yeah, that thing. Of course, I know. Yeah," and then they pull up a ChatGPT answer like off the book.
Great point.
Yeah,
Or
it's ridiculous.
I understand now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even see like university students just like they have like an assignment on like HTML or we're building like some website and they're just going to ChatGPT or Cursor and just asking it to do it for them. It ruins the whole purpose of going to university. I didn't go to university for coding, but like you're paying a ton of money, especially in America for your education. Why don't you learn? Why don't you just learn? People have really just neglected that because of these AI tools now.
Yeah, because I'm in college right now, and there's been a lot of my friends and stuff like that who just like ChatGPT one shot stuff for projects, and I'm like, yeah, you could do that, but at least have it explain it to you, because if you just one shot turn it in, you learn nothing. You learn nothing. Because that's my basis on AI has always been it's great. I use it. I love to use it. I use it for a lot of my own personal startup things because I simply wouldn't have the time to run them all if I were to actually be coding like every single line. It makes it very easy to deploy simple new changes or UI updates, but I always review the code. I always see, do I understand what this code just deployed? And would I be able to do that if I were to actually go in and like implement it? You know what I mean? And I think that's an important sort of differentiation with users because you need to be able to know how to fundamentally code. If you just know the
Yeah,
syntax, it's not enough. You need to know the logic behind it.
you need to understand what you're writing because at a company, it'll impact again. It could impact a big portion of your users if you write really shitty code, and it just can't happen. Like it can't happen. And guess what? You're gonna write that code. You're gonna write that PR, and someone's gonna review it, and then they're gonna know. Like I just know when someone's writing AI code. It's just really
You're
obvious.
too locked in. You're too locked
Yeah.
in. How do you use AI?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I'm stuck, I kind of just whenever if I was gonna go to Google, I'd just go to that. So if I'm like looking up a question, I might as well just ask Cursor or AI, and then it answers it for me. And like you said, just like your process, I try to understand it as much as I can. And if it's something simple like a UI change, I don't really care. I just push it. But like you're like on the email side, it's personal information, and if we fuck up one part of like someone's emails, which is very personal and contains a lot of personal information, we're done. It's over for us.
Yeah. I have to say it's amazing like the potential language models have on helping people learn things. Like as long as you're dealing with something that language model has enough context on, like in the training data set, you just have a personalist coach, something you would pay a lot of money for.
Yeah.
And makes me wonder, are courses going away like as a thing? What do you think? Because you can always just